ORC Band Racing 393. This is part 5 of my Traxxas Nitro 4Tec rebuild. So where are we at now? So in this video, we are going to start the motor. I don't know whether or not it's going to work, but you know, the purpose of this video is mainly to get this nitro breathing and alive. So what we're going to do first, so a couple of updates. The drive shaft issue. I did try another solution, but it didn't work. I had another, I think it was off of a different 4Tec. It wasn't the Nitro 3.3 version, even though this isn't 3.3. But I put another cup, a drive cup inside that hopefully would take a drive shaft. I still think there's something that we can do there. I don't think it's going to have to be a floating drive shaft. I actually think if I bought a different cup, it has to be longer. Or these cups, these inner drive cups, can actually be fitted not so much flush against the gearbox housing or the diff housing. So there's still options there. I'm still open-minded. But the update is I've now sourced an original, brand new Traxxas drive shaft, which I can put in there. So that's that done. It's not here yet. It's coming all the way from Australia. I think it cost me about, including the shipping, in total in pounds was 23 something pounds. So something like 28 to $30. The exchange rate with the US, the Australian dollar and sterling is massive. So what seems like a lot of money when you sort of convert it from Australian pounds or Australian dollars, I get my words right, Australian dollars, and you convert it to sterling, it's not that bad. So that'll be here as and when. Right, so the next thing I've got to do, I've got a couple of things. I bought some body posts. So these do just fit on the front of the bumper. They're just going to fit on the squares there. I know it should have a foam insert. I haven't got that. That could be something else I could purchase at a later date. But we're just going to screw those on. Quite simple. I don't need this, but just in case it doesn't work. So on top of the fuel tank, they've got you use this kind of dome here to pressurize the system. I think most of the time this bit splits. I've checked it hasn't split, but Traxxas do that's a bit of a a replacement lid. It's a traditional lid that you would usually then prime the engine either by blocking the exhaust off and pulling it over on the compression, or you can do the same thing by pressurize the fuel tank by blowing down the fuel line. It might sound crude, but it does work. So I've got this in case that doesn't work. So I'm not going to fit around fitting that on just yet. Don't need to. But we will fit those on. The other bit I'm going to do in this video is we're going to clean this exhaust up. So I said I'm going to spray it. I'm still going to spray it. I'm going to rub it down. It's got a nice turbo print on there. Now I'm going to have to spray over that. It doesn't matter. I'm not even sure what. It's just an empty chamber, so I don't quite understand what the turbo thing is. I'm pretty sure that most of the performance in the exhaust anyway can become baffling in there. Sort of not so much baffling, but the way that the exhaust exhausts. That's just an empty chamber, and I think the length of that chamber can make a difference on how it performs. This is just a standard exhaust. There's nothing I couldn't because I think it might come apart there, but I couldn't undo it. So yeah, I'm gonna spray it. I've got some paint to rub it down first, but we'll come back to that. I'm not going to film spraying it, it's pointless, but we'll get that cleaned up and then we'll fit it on properly with some cable ties. And then we'll add some fuel line, and then we can start thinking about getting this thing started. What else? Well, the only other thing was this shock. I'm going to have to trim down the end, sort of shave that off a little bit. I might do it with a knife, and then I've got a Dremel which I can sort of smooth it out with, because that has to fit inside the cup, so the shock sits lower and then lowers the suspension. It is just, you can see it looks a bit, it looks, well, it is wrong, not looks wrong, it is wrong. And I think that's about it really. There's not much else I need to actually do. Glue the tyres on, I think. That'll be something else I'll do in this video. So we will be fixing the tyres onto the rims, because even by starting it and revving it, not that I'll rev it high, assuming it starts of course, I don't want these ballooning and coming off. So I probably will do both sides. I've got some specific glue for that. I do need to run a filter in the fuel as well. That's something I didn't think of until just now. So I might have to... I thought I had filters, but I forgot to get that. I'm going to have to buy a fuel filter for it, I think. Not that it's going to make any difference to the video, because the video in your time will just be instantaneous. But in my time, it'll take as long as it takes. Right, so let's get, first off, let's get those onto there. And then Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. That's the front body posts on. I've just think by the shape of the posts themselves, they're not perfect, but I think that's down to the bumper. It doesn't matter. If I can source some foam, I think there's companies that still do parts for these anyway, so it could probably do with some foam on it. It just slots over. If I can source some, I'll get some foam. It protects the front. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is either I'm going to glue the tyres, got some glue for there, or I'm going to start preparing the exhaust. I'm still a little bit undecided about what colour. It's been cleaned, but I just need to make sure it's wiped down. Take all these like breather nipples off. I think it's got like a screw at the end here that fixes it to the chassis. There's a temporary screw underneath here where there was another hole. I'm not sure why that's there, but that needs cleaning up, and then I'll put some, I'm not sure, some sealer on there maybe. Maybe even, yeah, a sealer or something. You don't want it leaking air other than where it should be. And then we can fit it on, and then I'll put some cables on here and get it fitted to the chassis. The problem is, I think to get the servo in, you've got to take the exhaust off. I might be able to get it through there. The servos I'm thinking of getting are half height servos, because there's less room. One of the sort of the budgety, or maybe middle of the road servos, front, one for the steering and one for the throttle. But that's all subjective really to make sure this runs. So yeah, so let's well, I'm going to glue the tyres on. You don't need to see that. And I'm also now going to prepare the exhaust. So that'll be the next phase. And then I'll probably will fit the exhaust. And hopefully by then I'll have a filter for the fuel line. And then we can connect all the fuel line up. Charge the glow starter, because it is a pull start, get some fuel in the tank, and see if we can get this baby running. And all systems go. I think I might have to remove the shaft on this side because it's sort of floating around loose. I don't want that chewing up the plastic. But anyway, that's for me to sort out. So let me get the tyres on and I'll start preparing the exhaust, and I'll bring you back when I've got something to show you. Quick rub down. And then I'm going to put some paint on it. I think I might do it. I don't know. Black would be the obvious answer, but I don't know. I quite like the fact that it's red or orange or whatever this is. Well, it's like a red in like a flame red, if you like. I think I have got some. I might even have like a very bright red. So I think I might do that. So it will cover. This is going to be a very similar colour. Yeah. So I think the stuff they put on this though is like hard coated paint. I don't think it's just. It's obviously an etching type of paint, being aluminium, but I'm hoping the paint I've got will key to this and it won't react with a bit of luck. So I'm going to stick some paint on it. I've cleaned up the screw, the sort of the, what's that, a blank screw, and then we've got the fuel. This is what draws the fuel out of the fuel tank nipple. So that's all clean. Yeah, okay. I'll be back when I've painted it. And there we have a painted exhaust. It's just done with normal Tamiya paint. I don't think it's particularly very durable because it's chipping off already underneath. It's chipped. It's on top. It's not ideal, but it looks better than the original one, which was a bit faded. I just put some stickers on there just to make it so it's not quite as plain. Cable ties are on, and they're a bit overkill. That's all I had at the minute, so quite hefty cable ties, but it isn't going to go anywhere. So I need to put the bracket on here to hold the exhaust on because it does move around a little bit. So just to get it more fixed into the position. And I'm going to shave down the best I can anyway. I'm just trying to think some of this, the bottom of the shock, to lower the spring, and in fact to lower the whole side of the suspension there so it goes down and sits where it should. I'll probably have to do that by hand. And then we're going to put some fuel line in, charge up the glow charger, and then we'll stick it on, give it a pull. I've no idea what will happen, but yeah, tyres are nice and glued on now, so both sides, so they're on there. Yeah, it's slowly taking shape. Once I've achieved the startup procedure and get it running, we'll put a shell on it, some electrics in it, and then we'll go out and give it a blast outside. So next thing, let's get this exhaust mounted so that it's more secure on there, not sort of, it's a bit loose at the moment because we've got mounts to the chassis, and there's a small like wire that goes through the end there. So let me do that. Okay, so it's all fitted on now. Yeah, it looks right. It's nice and sturdy. I've put the exhaust mount on because it sticks up a little bit. I have trimmed it off. That's only a little bit of aerial sort of covering, so I've put that on to sort of stop it cutting your fingers. So that's okay. I have taken a little bit off the bottom of the shock, the mount, the eyelet if you like. But I can't go too far. It has sat down a little bit more. Maybe not quite as much as the other shock. I've left the spacer off this side as well, and they've got different springs on, so I suppose there's an element of the spring's not the same spring either. It doesn't move as much, but I don't quite know why it's not drooping down. You know, maybe It doesn't actually move any more than that. It just won't move. I suppose once I get the servos in, fuel, and it's a little bit more weight, it's going to sit lower anyway, isn't it? There are upgrades for these shocks for this particular model of car, so I might invest in some shocks. Not too expensive. I think they come from China or even America, I think. So I could get some shocks and uprate the shocks on the car. That would be a bit better, so on road. And they feel fine. I mean, the ones that are on there do feel really good. I think the back ones are probably a bit too stiff. And they've got like black springs on them. So the odd spring is actually this one. That spring's an odd spring. So it could be putting some springs on it. Because the back ones, they're the same, black. This one here is black. And that one there is chrome. So, I don't know, possibly a set of springs, some on-road springs, might have to invest in, because they're standard size like any Tamiya spring, and I might even have some. But I'll look into that. But anyway, that's it so far. Onwards and upwards. The next stage is fuel filter, as I mentioned, fuel pipe. I think I've got some clear fuel pipe which I can use to go from the carburetor to the tank, and then the exhaust to the top of the tank for the pressured, sort of the pressured system type of typical nitro setup. That's what I'll probably do. I coloured one from between there and here, but I'd like to have a clear one between the carb and I'm trying to think where it goes actually. Oh, there, yes. So between there and there, I'm going to put like a clear one, which I probably have got actually, so I might even do that. But anyway, let me go and get the fuel hose and I'll stick it on. So I've got some fuel line here. This is just standard. It's fine for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some to length. Go from the top of the tank around to the carb inlet. I don't know how to go around that. I'm probably... Yeah, that can be changed. I don't have to have the outlet where it is, so I'm going to work on that. Put some of this on. And then probably... Yeah, we're probably getting very close to a bit of a fire up. So that's the fuel line on, just standard fuel line. Haven't quite worked out whether I've routed it correctly, or I know you should run, you know, for competition, you need to run quite a lot of fuel line in the carb, between the carb and the tank, because part of the fuel line is where it holds the fuel. So if you turn over or something in a competition, but it's not going to matter for what I need it for. So I've got that one there going from the top of the exhaust, top of the tank. That's the sort of as the fuel comes out, it kind of pressurizes the tank, making it run. It's like a pressurized system. That one there's okay. Goes from the carburetor, which I've just moved the carburetor intake tap, if you like, there, and it goes around to here. It's not hitting anything, and the throttle works, and I can get to it. It's a bit difficult to get to the... You can get to the set screw in here. That's the tick over. And the low speed, well, that's that side. That's there, which you can just about get to underneath the fuel line. So yeah, so we're pretty much... I'm sort of holding the camera, right? The stand keeps falling down. So we're pretty much ready to go. I'm just waiting now for that drive shaft to start it up. It doesn't need the drive shaft in because it's not attached, so it's only going to spin one wheel, so that's not a problem. So I need to charge up a glow starter. Oh, I haven't got I tell you what I haven't got, which I have forgotten. It's obvious now. I was so keen to put this on. Is the fuel filter. So that will go in there somewhere. So I may have to cut another bit there, but anyway, I'll put it on. It's cheap as chips, this stuff. Yeah, it'll do for now. I've ordered some more. I've got some in stock that I sell, so, but I don't want to keep using that. So hopefully it will create a negative pressure, I think that's what, isn't it, in there to pump the fuel up through to the carb. That's how it should work. And we can fire it up. What do you reckon? Do you reckon it's going to fire up? It should. I mean, it is nice and neat and tidy now. Even the glow plug glowed when I put a glow lighter on it. So, yeah, right. Although it's going to be probably a day for me, I'll see in a bit when I'm ready to fire this thing up. I might, depends if any bits come between now and I get round to doing it, but all intents and purposes, I do need the filter first though, so I've got to wait for the fuel filter, but we're pretty much, the next part of this now is going to be a quick fire up. I had this on charge actually overnight, so we'll see, one, does that work, and does the glow plug work? Don't know yet, so we'll find out. So there's a bit of smoke there off it, so I'm just going to try and, it does get hot very quickly. Whoops, not like that though. So we do have power. It does get hot. So I'm going to put that back in the engine. Yeah, I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the linkage. So I'm going to put the old servo in with the linkage so that I've got some control on the throttle rather than a loose throttle, especially when starting it. It's going to be run without a fuel filter just for this startup process. Yeah, so I'm going to fit the old servo, throttle, linkage and brake, so I've got some manual control, and then we're going to give it a bit of fuel, prime it, and then hopefully start this thing up. Servo is on, linkage is all in. It just allows me to adjust the throttle trim so it doesn't move around if I'm trying to start it. It's a bit easier than just trying to manually do it there, as I thought. I'm not sure it's the best route for everything at the minute, but it all works. The carburetor sort of opens fully and the brakes work when I move this, so all good. Glow plug, as you know, is all charged. It's just a case now of putting a bit of fuel in there. I might use the starter box rather than the pull start. I've got to charge that up though, so I'm going to perhaps charge the starter box up, adjust it so it fits this, hopefully it will, and I might try it that way. If not, I've got the pull start as usual, just personal preference. Yeah, don't know what, I've set these to basics, what I think. It may or may not work. We'll see. Anyway, we're pretty much there. Let's get this thing, at least if it fires up, it'll be a result. I've just got to add fuel. Okay. Primed. Just checking. Okay. fired. Really close to the result. Can't breathe. Not bad from just stripping it down. Oh, hang on, just trying to slow down the fucking. Not sure if the tick over's too high. Let's try again. It's hot now. Slower. Result. I'll turn it off now, I can't breathe. Fantastic. I think the carburettor's like, it backs it up in the carbs, isn't it? Whew. Hang on. Hang on, let's take it off there now. Turn it off. Just got to put some stuff on this. I don't think it's leaking. Ooh. Apart from out the exhaust. You know, it flooded it, didn't it? You've got to be careful of that. It's gone all over me now. We'll lock that up. So that's it. That's amazing. I'm pretty pleased with that. Fuel filter, drive shaft, servos, it's great. Obviously a tune. I'll get it on a transmitter then, so that it can be controlled, and then a body shell. I'm really pleased with that. That's fantastic. So that's the end of the series. please like and subscribe, and it's not the end of the series, but I'll see you on the next one when we get a bit more done to this. Yeah, really pleased. Hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for watching this. What's this, part 4 or part 5? I can't remember. It's on the thumbnail anyway. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.